The sky burns. The night above Cairo was calm, velvet black stretched wide, pierced with ancient stars. The city glowed with its restless heartbeat, neon signs buzzing, cars weaving through crowded streets, and the silent guardians of the pyramids looming at the desert's edge. But then the stars began to move. At first, it was subtle. A few points of light streaking across the heavens, like meteors skipping against Earth's atmosphere. Onlookers gathered in balconies and on rooftops, phones raised, whispering in awe. But awe twisted quickly into dread. The meteors slowed. They shifted, realigned, and spread into formation. They weren't falling. They were arriving. One by one, colossal silhouettes broke through the clouds, alien warships, their hulls black as obsidian and etched with glowing crimson patterns that pulsed like veins. They spread across the sky, blotting out the moon. The Zaryth Dominion had come. Panic rippled through the city. Traffic screeched to a halt, horns blaring. Families abandoned cafes and markets, rushing for shelter. The pyramids, timeless stone relics, became tiny shadows beneath the alien fleet's glow. Cairo was drowning in fear. And then, a streak of golden light cut through the darkness. Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers soared above the Nile, her body blazing with photon energy. The air cracked around her as she rocketed into the sky, eyes narrowing at the warships. She had seen these signatures before, on a ravaged moon in the Kree borderlands, where Zaryth had stripped it bare of life. And now they were here. Carol shot higher, into the thin edge of atmosphere. From this vantage, she could see the full scope, an armada of Dominion craft bristling with weapons. A planet-sized hunger packed into black steel. Her jaw clenched. "Not this world," she muttered. A voice answered. Carol Danvers. The comms crackled, though she hadn't opened a channel. It was deep, resonant, filled with a confidence that chilled the blood. A figure emerged from the largest ship, descending as though gravity bowed to him. General Xylar. He was massive, armored in plates that shimmered with molten lines of light. His face was obscured by a helm of jagged edges, but his crimson eyes burned with predatory hunger. From his back unfurled energy wings, each span glowing like shattered suns. "You defend them," Xylar said, his voice carrying across the skies. "But this world is weak. Its fire belongs to the Dominion. Step aside, and we will take what we came for quickly." Carol's hands sparked with golden light. She hovered, steady as a blade. "Yeah? You picked the wrong planet." Xylar's wings spread wider, blotting more of the sky. "Defiance. I expected nothing less from the one they call Captain Marvel. But you misunderstand your place. I do not conquer with fire, I consume it. Every strike you deliver will feed me. Every blast will make me stronger." Carol's lip curled. "Good. I was hoping for a challenge." And then the sky exploded. Photon energy surged from her fists as she rocketed forward, colliding with Xylar in a blinding flash. Their impact shook the clouds apart, thunder rolling across the desert. She punched through the chest plate of one of his wings, but instead of weakening, the molten cracks spread brighter. Xylar laughed, a sound like cracking stone. Her blow had made him stronger. He swung his blade, a weapon forged from condensed starlight, pure white and searing. She barely dodged, the heat slicing the air where her head had been. Her counterstrike, a barrage of photon blasts, lit the night brighter than day. Cairo below felt the shock waves. Windows shattered, glass raining down like knives. People screamed, scattering as Dominion drop pods slammed into the streets, spilling armored soldiers with plasma cannons. The invasion had begun. Carol gritted her teeth, ignoring the chaos below for now. She couldn't let Xylar loose. She pushed harder, flying straight into him, driving them both higher into the stratosphere. "You talk too much," she snarled, driving an energy-charged knee into his gut. Xylar barely flinched. His helm turned, those crimson eyes glowing brighter. "And you burn too fast." He slammed his blade against her photon field, sending her spiraling back toward Earth. She plummeted like a comet, crashing through the clouds, trailing fire. She struck a skyscraper's side, shattering concrete, before regaining her flight just in time to avoid colliding with the ground. The street below was chaos, Dominion soldiers marching, vehicles overturned, civilians scattering. Carol landed hard, fists flaring, and unleashed a shockwave that blasted a platoon back into their drop pods. Dust and rubble flew, but she didn't stop. She was everywhere at once, photon blasts and supercharged punches tearing through the invaders. But overhead, Xylar descended again, wings stretching, eyes locked on her. "Every move you make, every spark you unleash, becomes mine," he said. "You cannot win." Carol's chest heaved, sweat and dust streaking her face. Her fists still blazed, but she felt it, the drain. He wasn't lying. With every exchange, he was adapting, growing faster, stronger, hungrier. And she realized the truth. This wasn't a fight she could end with brute force. Xylar landed among the ruins, his blade humming, his presence towering. "Kneel, Captain. Your fire belongs to me." Carol wiped blood from her lip, squaring her stance. She knew she was being pushed, maybe even outmatched. But she also knew something Xylar never would. Humans don't kneel easy. She raised her fists, golden light flaring against the night. "If you want it, come and take it." The city trembled as their battle reignited, energy crackling, the sky itself tearing under their war. Above Cairo, the stars vanished beneath fire. The sky was burning. Light against the darkness. The streets of Cairo were fire. Plasma bolts seared through the air as Zaryth soldiers poured from their drop pods. Armored and towering, their movements were mechanical, their eyes glowing faint red beneath obsidian helmets. They swept through the avenues in brutal lines, cutting down resistance and scattering terrified civilians. The smell of scorched stone and burning oil clung to every corner. Above it all, Xylar's voice echoed like thunder. "Your world is a spark in the dark, and sparks are meant to be consumed." Carol landed hard in the middle of Tahrir Square, the shockwave rippling outward, scattering a squad of Dominion troops like leaves in a storm. Her fists still burned with photon fire, though her arms trembled from the strain. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. She had fought invasions before, but never against an enemy who grew stronger the longer she resisted. "Think, Carol," she muttered to herself. "If brute force doesn't work, then what does?" Her answer came in the screams nearby. A transport bus had flipped on its side, civilians trapped within as Zaryth soldiers advanced. Without hesitation, Carol streaked across the street, blasting the soldiers aside before peeling open the bus with her bare hands. "Move! Get to cover!" she urged, shielding them with a photon barrier until they escaped into the alleys. One of the children clutched her arm before running. "You're glowing," he whispered, eyes wide. Carol gave him the faintest smile. "That's the point." But above her, Xylar descended again, wings unfurled, his armor brighter than before. He landed with a quake, his starlight blade humming like a dying sun. "You fight for them," he said, gesturing to the scattering civilians. "Fragile, fleeting sparks. What worth is there in protecting weakness?" Carol stood firm, her eyes blazing. "You wouldn't get it. Weakness isn't the same as worthlessness." Xylar raised his blade high, the energy screaming as he brought it down. Carol met him head-on, photon-charged fists clashing with stellar steel. The impact lit the entire square in blinding white, the ground splitting beneath them. The fight tore through the city. They blasted upward again, smashing through rooftops, carving streaks of light across the sky. Each time Carol struck, Xylar absorbed it, his movements sharper, his voice louder. Each blow made him hungrier. "You cannot stop me," he roared, catching her fist mid-swing. His armor pulsed violently, drawing her energy into his core. Your defiance feeds me. The more you burn, the more I ascend. Carol's teeth gritted as she pushed against his grip. The truth hit hard. She wasn't just failing to stop him. She was fueling him. And then clarity cut through the panic. Not all fire is the same. Carol's eyes narrowed, her body stilling as her mind worked furiously. She had been fighting with raw energy, feeding him blasts and punches. But what if she didn't give him what he wanted? What if she changed the fire? Xylar sneered at her silence. What's wrong, Captain? Running out of fuel. She smirked, sweat dripping down her brow. No, just charging up. In an instant, Carol shot skyward, pulling Xylar with her. They soared into the upper atmosphere, where the curve of the earth glowed beneath them. She shut her fists tight, drawing every last ounce of energy into herself. Not outward. Not into blasts. Inward. Condensing. Compressing. Her entire body began to glow white-hot, brighter than any star. She wasn't just burning. She was becoming the fire. Xylar's eyes widened, his wings faltering for the first time. What are you? Carol exploded. The blast wasn't outward destruction. It was pure photon brilliance, radiating in every direction, scouring the Dominion's stolen reserves. Below in the city, their glowing tanks sputtered and died. Soldiers stumbled as their weapons dimmed, lifeless. Across the fleet, ship engines coughed and failed, entire warships going dark. And Xylar, once towering, once unstoppable, staggered. His blade flickered. His armor's veins of light went dull. No, he bellowed, lunging at her. Your fire is mine. Carol's hair whipped in the surge, her eyes glowing like twin suns. She rocketed forward, her fist blazing brighter than a comet. Not this fire. Her punch hit him square in the chest, shattering his armor. The force ripped through him like a tidal wave, sending his massive body hurtling back through the stratosphere. He smashed into his flagship, tearing it in half as it plummeted in flames toward the desert. The remaining Dominion ships, powerless and broken, scattered in retreat. Within minutes, the sky cleared. Silence. Carol hovered above the pyramids, her glow fading slowly. She was drained, every muscle screaming, but she didn't fall. Below, the people of Cairo emerged cautiously from their hiding places, staring upward. Children pointed, parents wept, soldiers raised their fists in triumph. She landed softly among them, dust swirling around her boots. Civilians rushed forward, some cheering, some too stunned to speak. A boy held out a cracked smartphone with a shaking hand. Can I take a picture? Carol managed a weary grin. Sure, kid. Just don't tag me. Laughter broke the tension, rippling across the crowd. Hope returned, fragile but burning. Above, the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, spilling light across the battered city. Carol looked up, squinting at the sun. For a second, she thought of Xylar, how he had seen it as fuel, as something to consume. But to her, it wasn't fuel. It was a reminder. Light wasn't just meant to be taken. It was meant to be shared. She whispered softly, more to herself than anyone else, Earth's still off limits. And with that, Captain Marvel rose once more into the sky, leaving behind a city scarred but unbroken, and a world reminded that even in its darkest hour, humanity's fire could never be extinguished. Shadows of the Fallen. Cairo was still smoldering. The fires from the fallen Zaryth flagship painted the desert horizon in hues of red and black. Emergency crews rushed through cracked streets, helping survivors from the wreckage, while civilians gathered in clusters, whispering in awe of the woman who had turned night into dawn. Captain Marvel stood on the roof of a broken building, arms crossed, scanning the skies. Her body still hummed faintly with photon energy, but she felt hollow inside, like a storm that had spent all its thunder. Carol, came a familiar voice through her calm Nick fury. "The feeds are going crazy. Half the world saw you light up the sky like a human supernova. You're trending harder than cat videos." Carol didn't smile. Her gaze stayed fixed on the smoke trails above. "It's not over, Fury. Not yet." "Yeah?" Fury's voice grew grave. "We picked up chatter. Xylar's flagship wasn't the only command vessel in orbit. Dominion fleets are regrouping. What you fought, that was just the spearhead." Carol clenched her fists, the weight of exhaustion heavy on her shoulders. She had known it couldn't be that easy. Aliens like the Zaryth didn't send one warlord to do their bidding unless they had an entire empire behind him. Suddenly, the ground beneath her feet trembled. A shockwave rippled through the city, followed by a deafening roar. Civilians screamed, scattering once more. From the wreckage of the crashed flagship, a massive shadow rose. It was Xylar. His armor was cracked and smoldering, his wings torn, but he lived. The starlight blade, though broken in half, still hummed faintly in his grip. His body glowed with veins of unstable energy, flickering erratically as if torn between implosion and rebirth. Carol's stomach sank. She had thrown everything at him. How was he still standing? The warlord's voice was ragged but booming, filled with wrath. "You think you've won, Captain? You've only delayed the inevitable. My death," he staggered forward, glaring with burning crimson eyes, "is not the end. It is the beginning." Before Carol could move, Xylar plunged the remains of his blade into the ground. The earth quaked violently, cracks spreading outward like veins. From the fissures erupted dark tendrils of energy, fragments of Dominion tech reshaping themselves into spires of jagged black stone. The wreckage of the flagship twisted unnaturally, bending into grotesque structures. Carol's jaw tightened. "He's turning the city into a beacon." Fury's voice came frantic through her earpiece. "Carol, readings just spiked off the charts. He's sending a signal. Reinforcements." "No," Carol muttered. "Not on my watch." She launched toward Xylar, blasting him across the square with a surge of photon light. The impact sent him sprawling into his own corrupted spire, shattering part of it. But even as he fell, his laughter echoed. "Every strike feeds the signal. You can't stop what's coming." Carol gritted her teeth. He was right. Direct attacks only accelerated the beacon's growth. The Dominion's strength wasn't just in battle. It was in adaptation, in corruption. They turned everything, even defeat, into fuel. "Think, Carol. If hitting him makes it worse, what's the play?" As she hovered above, the answer came from below. A small group of civilians had stayed behind, watching her, not with fear, but with trust. They weren't running anymore. Some were helping the wounded, some holding makeshift weapons, some just standing, refusing to yield. Carol realized something crucial. Xylar had power, but Earth had something he would never understand. Resilience. She descended, landing among them. "Get everyone to safety. I'll handle the rest." A young woman, covered in dust, shook her head. "No. This is our home. We're not leaving you to fight alone." Carol's chest tightened at the words. Humanity's fire wasn't just her metaphor. It was real, alive, burning in these people. She turned back to Xylar, who was rising again, his broken armor dripping sparks. She needed a strategy, not brute force, but something to break his connection to the beacon. Her eyes flicked to the fractured starlight blade. It pulsed with unstable energy, tethered to the spires he had created. "That blade," she whispered. "It's the key." With a burst of speed, she rocketed forward, weaving through tendrils of black energy that lashed out like whips. Xylar swung the broken blade, its hum shrieking as it tore the air, but Carol slipped past and grabbed the hilt. Energy surged up her arm like liquid fire. Her vision blurred as alien whispers clawed at her mind, promising strength, victory, dominion. "Give in," Xylar growled, reaching for her. "The Dominion is eternal," Carol snarled back, her entire body igniting. "No. Humanity is eternal." With a scream, she poured her photon energy into the blade, not feeding it, but overloading it, forcing it to collapse under its own unstable core. The weapon cracked, then shattered in a burst of light that consumed the spires in a cascading chain reaction. The beacon shattered. The sky went dark. Xylar roared, his body convulsing as the power sustaining him tore itself apart. He staggered toward Carol, his armor falling to pieces. "You cannot stop the swarm." Carol's fists blazed once more. "Watch me." Her final blast hit him square in the chest, this time not fueling him but erasing the last fragments of Dominion corruption. Xylar screamed as his body dissolved into ash and sparks, carried away on the desert wind. Silence fell over Cairo once more. Carol dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Around her, civilians slowly gathered, their cheers breaking the heavy quiet. The beacon was gone. The Dominion fleet would not arrive, not tonight. But Fury's voice came low, almost grim. "Carol, satellites show a ripple in deep space." Xylar wasn't bluffing. "More are coming." Carol stood, the rising sun at her back. She looked over the city, scarred, battered, but still standing. Humanity had fought beside her today, even in small ways. She tightened her fists. "Then let them come. Earth isn't theirs to take." And with that, Captain Marvel shot back into the sky, ready to meet whatever shadows the Dominion would send next.